Life is better out in Africa. Vegetation is fine like animals that run wild. Celebrations throughout the night. Check. And the nature is unlike no other. Life is better out in Africa. Let me show you what you got. You don't believe me? We can take a trip, just you and me.
Let's go.
Living a dream.
You can too.
Everything ain't what it seems in Africa.
Hadithi njoo utamu ulokolea, ukweli ulopotea, utamu ulokolea, ukweli ulopotea, hadithi. Stories say it, so we say the truth, we speak the truth openly and widely. I'm blessed to be here. Thank you so much for having me here, and I'm so blessed to be right in front of you to share the knowledge and the spirit and the journey that we've been all the way coming from the music to the farming to the activism and all that. My name's Jimson Kibuyo, also known as GPO Bikoto. I'm a farmer, I'm a poet, an event organizer, an activist, a musician, a father and a husband, and a business owner.
Yes, sir.
Sure.
And a homemade tomato paste from the organic beef stick tomatoes that I make from the farm. These are grape cherries, organic fresh grape cherries. We're gonna share them through. I can put them here. No problem. Yeah. So when I was coming, I was a little bit in a rush with my motorbike, and I had red and yellow papers behind my motorbike. I just closed them. It was like 3-4 kilos of red and yellow papers, and I was almost on the way to USA, and while I realized the wind took everything.
Oh no!
Yeah. I went back. The good thing is, when I went back to check what happened, I found nothing. I just found like 2 papers, like 2 red papers, and I was like, oh, that's so blessed if somebody else like picked and went to it, because that's our aim as farmers, like to just provide good food for people who even don't have to. Okay, yeah, and close to that mountain, and it's an urban set, a sustainable urban set farm. And we do this to set as an example to others, that to showcase that it's possible to still do farming even if you are at the urban areas, and it's still possible to do sustainable organic practices and not a different way as we see big corporations that are trying to lead all the farmers towards GMOs and a really different way of agricultural farming practices, which leads to a lot of destruction of our minds and bodies. Yeah, and sustainable urban and we also deal with giving education on how to protect our environment, how to respect that, and how to like make a connection with all the surroundings, which is literally our life. It's literally like our environment is our life. Without the environment around us, without trees, without plants, we ain't living beings. To food and the waste from the animals, we generate gas and use it direct, and we have our whole housing is a sustainable housing structure where we recycle each and everything. Nothing goes as waste, I would say. So we have a grey water system where we do clean up the dirty water again for the use of irrigation in the farm. And so to portray that in our farm, that we can go for compost, where we can compost toilet, where we can be using our toilets at the same time our toilets can be giving us a good manure for the use in the farm, and we can have food back in the whole circulation, generating back of our soil. And that's why we keep losing every harvest becomes lesser and lesser and lesser because we don't take time to prepare or regenerate or revive back our soil that we took much nutrients out of it from the last harvest. So those are the important practices that we preach, and we try to show that by doing that you increase more yields, but also the survival for the soil is important. Not to let the soil die, otherwise we don't have food for the next 5 to 10 years. And we have a solar energy electricity power, so we set a small solar system so for lights and all that, and we are still looking forward to having changing it to a DC or something like that. To farming is a dirty job. It's for like poor people who don't have enough to make it in life, so they run to do farming. So we want to change that narration and letting people know that farming is the strongest. And I believe that farmers are the first doctors before even the doctors themselves. Yeah. So I believe that what you eat is what you will give an outcome to your body. So whatever you take in should be really, really checked. Should be really, really researched, because that's your health. And that's what we believe as like farmers as the first doctors before even the doctors themselves. Music as an instrument towards educating young minds, youths to realize the potentials that are surrounding them and understand how they can blend together and work through creating a better community and a society and for the food system of our coming generations. So we go to marketplaces, we advocate about environmental issues, we do market ciphers. It's a monthly project or program that we do. I organize many other young people like me. We go to the markets, each different markets for each month, and we participate in general cleanups, giving education on hygiene. I use dry cheap woods or dry grasses for mulching.
More information about your farm?
Okay. In the meantime, you can check on the IG Kaizari Farm. You can have it on. I have a Gmail, Kaizari Farm at gmail.com. Kaizari, Kaizari, Kaizari. So if you visit the IG or the Facebook, you can I post a lot of things about farming. Yes, my farm is located in Arusha town and in Kijenge. The road towards Moshono, yeah, Kijenge. Okay. Yeah, Kijenge.
The mountain produces because it's a volcano?
Yeah. It's a real fertile soil around there. It's a loam clay like. So during dry season, it becomes really hard. So you have to find means to control so you don't lose a lot of water out of there, and then you're fine. But it's a really fertile land from there.
You said you had a non-profit?
NGO.
NGO.
Mr. Africa, meaning a civilized African who lives in an African manner. Absolutely. Yeah. Okay.
A standard American diet to a more plant-based, natural diet and way of living.
Yeah, I think doing a fast, whether it be a fruit fast or a juice fast or you have to break the addiction. You can't just like slowly, no, it's not going to work. So you need to do the fast. While you're doing the fast, you need to be doing the spiritual work, the journaling work, the understanding, because as soon as you start eating again, all of those cravings, all of that stuff will come right back. So you need to be getting really clear on why you're doing this. What are your goals? What are you trying to do? And you're going to probably make some mistakes as you're transitioning back to eating. And so these failures to me are your keys to success. Okay, I just ate this thing. Why did I eat this thing? Because I was stressed out from work, or somebody yelled at me and I had an argument with my, whatever it is. Then you can begin to say, okay, how can I make sure that next time this happens, because chances are it's going to happen again, what do I need to do? Do I need to clear out my kitchen so there's those things aren't there? Do I need to, it's particular to you and your situation and your nature. So take the time to use those mistakes as stepping stones to being able to be successful. Learn the language. Mwalimu Lotha right there behind you. He's one of my Swahili teachers. That's a very key. It's difficult. We are very culturally different, and especially if you're around, village people. Their idea of they don't have the same experiences that you have, and so it takes time to learn. To gradually get to know each other. They may not speak English, so language is important. Being open and to learning new ways. There's a book called Africans and Americans Embracing Cultural Differences. It's written by a Tanzanian who's a professor in Minnesota. Now, he doesn't know anything about the Black American experience. He is clearly clueless about what it means to be Black in America, even though he's been in America for a good long time. But he's in little podunk town, Minnesota, where he's a star. So he doesn't experience what you experience. So he doesn't understand that. But he does know Tanzanians. He does know American culture, and whether you want to believe it or not, you are American. And you come here with American cultural baggage. And he can show you, one of the main things that people say when they come here is that, you will have a dollar sign on your, you probably have already seen that, on your forehead, and people will see you and they think you're rich. In terms of Tanzania, you are rich. And so they ask you for money. And people think, oh, they're stealing from me, they're whatever. The other thing you need to understand, though, is that here in Tanzania, people share. It's communal. If I have something and you need something, I'm going to give it to you. Or I'm going to say to you politely, no, I'm sorry, I can't. And they'll accept it. Or you may have to say it again, but if you approach people with kindness and respect, and you'll do your best to understand what the culture is here, you'll be fine. But I'm never, my next door neighbor and I are pretty good friends, but we don't hang out. There are people here who have a more worldly exposure. They've been around, they've been out, they've come, and those are people you're going to more likely be able to have a deeper relationship with. So it's a challenge. It's a day-by-day thing. It's a work in progress.
The good thing about compost, I myself didn't believe that compost could work. I thought, oh my God, how can you have a compost toilet without flushing and inside the house? How can we sustain even the smell? And I was super worried about that. Yeah. But after we worked it through, it was completely a different story. Right. And there is no smell at all. Yeah. It's just wood, and it was just amazing that you can circulate even all the human waste. And you get back to the farm where it's completely like soil, because you have specific worms that you also implant them inside there, so they can help in the composting more way faster. So within 5 to 6 months you have everything turned into soil. And so you have 2 chambers. You use the first chamber, it's full, you turn to the next chamber. Before it's even full, this one is already completely decomposed. I know, Eric. Or that's why we also had to have the grey water system, because you can't mix the two, and it doesn't work. It always have to be dry matters. So we have completely separated the urine and all the water waste, of which we are also recycling it. It's a local way of doing that. You just use stones, pebbles, charcoal, sand, and plants. Yeah, they just do the whole filtration, and you can use it for watering. Housing the thing with the greenhousing, we are trying to do a crop rotation, because many people who do greenhouse practices, they don't realize that, so they plant one type of crop all the time, all the year long, and then they end up not getting good results. So we do petitions of each rose with a different kind of product. So we don't also, because it's a sustainable farm, so we don't overproduce, that we end up having just the waste of food. But we produce according to the balance and the needy of the people and the market that we have in the moment. And it's working super well. We have biogas system throughout. It's we every second, every minute we create gas. The gas is created there. So we have to use it, and now we're thinking of even sharing to neighbors, because for us it's more than even enough. Yeah. There are toilets to the biogas job. So they create a biogas system, and they create all the waste from the latrine and toilets, and that's really good that you can generate. So you can still have the same toilet system, but just having a biogas, you direct everything to the biogas dump, and you have gas, and you have a really good sludge or manure for your gardening. Yeah. I had beef stick tomatoes, and I went to the market, and they showed me another beef stick tomato from another local farmer, of which he didn't use organic, and I used organic. Mine weren't so big as the other farmer, but the taste was a story. So they tested the beef sticks from mine, and they were amazed. And the other one was more watery, like super big, super fancy, really good for the market eye, but the taste is off. And that was the difference. And our fertilizers are mostly like seaweed fertilizers generated from plants and some different fruits themselves that have potassium and calcium and all that. We use like ashes, wood ashes also for things like that. And we also change time to time.
The day I woke up, it was like I'm full of energy, and I think that's really due to the food that's here. It just took some time to get it.
Questioning the programming and like Brother Kwame was saying, being willing to like state our ignorance and be open to learning new things. So.
Yeah, what's happening here and just what you're doing on your level, quote unquote, even if it's not as grandiose, you still are starting somewhere, you still are doing something that is impactful. And I also think about just taking in information without expectations. So that's been something that I've been working on for quite some time. And just being appreciative and grateful as we travel, just being able to even experience this, because even when we take the information back, it'll be some of our brothers and sisters that may never make it here, possibly, and being grateful for that I'm able to do it, and then also helping find ways for them to do it. But if they can't, give them some level where they can grow while they
Local meal. Sitting here, it's eating under the sun.
And I've worked with a law clinic at the CCM building called Alahurio when I first came here. I was also in a PhD program, so I was concentrating on all of that. There were a lot of challenges, a lot of opportunities, and a lot of things to learn with trying to get yourself acclimated and doing business here in East Africa. I'm starting now an orientation business called Where East Meets West, and a big part of what I'm doing with that is trying to make certain that people have a smoother transition when they relocate or when they come here to try and begin a business. Some of the difficulties with that is that we've been taught that we just jump and we come and everything is okay. We just come to the continent and and everything is okay. But as Amma said earlier, there are some cultural differences. There are some distinct cultural differences that we have with where we come from that we have to consider when we come here to live or retire or to do business. Now, one of the three things that I wanted to talk to you first about in mind is that there's some crucial elementary knowledge that you need to have when you come here. There are the three things that I found to be key to minimize the difficulty of your transition is Mulimo Lotha's area, language, right? Then you also need to get a good understanding of the culture and the traditions in whatever part of the world you're coming to, whether it be here in Africa or in the Americas or wherever you're going. When you're relocating, you need to get a good understanding of the culture and the traditions so that you will know what you're dealing with in the communities. And then you need to also get a good understanding of the business practices and the business things that they do in that country in order to be able to do well with not stumbling across different issues and making a lot of mistakes with the way that you go about doing things, wasting a lot of money, you know. So if you pay attention to the language first, I say the language is first because there's a certain mentality that goes along with the language. There's certain kind of wavelength that goes along with the language. And so if you get a good understanding of the language, take your time, as some said earlier, don't be in such a hurry. Take your time and learn the language, learn the culture and the traditions so that you can get to a place where you're comfortable with dealing with everybody in the community. When you go to the market and you go to the market to buy things, understanding how much it costs, how much is it going to cost in city center as well as in far out in the suburbs somewhere, that's important. Understanding how they price things, and that sometimes they price things at twice whatever the price is in order to negotiate down. It's important to understand that so that you don't think that somebody's trying to hit you all the time, you know, because that it's easy to fall into that mindset. So what I'm trying to do is trying to put you in a situation where you don't have to feel that way about things. All right, we're together to this arena. We're still new to this environment and to this culture, and so being able to be successful in whatever it is that you're trying to do means that you need to dig in and get the basic understandings before you run into the business aspects of it. If you understand the culture and the language and the culture and the traditions, then as you gradually start going into the business aspect of it, it won't be as difficult to find places that you might be successful with. Things work the same here, and some things are different because they don't always necessarily have the same kind of systems in place that we have. They don't come necessarily from all the same kinds of things that we've come from. There's trauma here too, but it's a different kind of trauma in certain areas, right? And so because of that, they've developed different ways to make certain that they're able to deal with things here and be successful in the community, whether it be a small mom and pop business or whether it be a big hotel. So understanding those things, taking your time to dig in and to really absorb those things. Don't think that I'm trying to be negative by talking about the difficulties. I'm just trying to give you a balanced perspective. Is that okay? Okay. I'm going to take a moment and redefine what getting there means. From my perspective, what getting there actually means is you taking the time to learn the things that will allow you to be a part of the environment and not just someone floating around in it. Right? Right. So for me, that's what I find. That's what I say getting here really actually means. You know, so now I'm just at the point where I can really say that I'm just about here. Even though it's been some years, I can really say that I feel more comfortable with understanding a lot of the things that I need to understand now. I can talk to people in the market and I can say, Shingapi, which means how much, I say Shingapi and they tell me what the price is. And, and I might say Jamani. If I think that they're trying to overprice or whatever. you know, but it helps, and it makes you feel more comfortable. It makes you feel more in place. It makes you feel like you're a part of something in a better way. There are a lot of opportunities as far as businesses is concerned. You know, there are a lot of hotels and tourism companies and different volunteering. There are a lot of things that go on inside the country, inside of your region, what have you, that you will get access to that you might not necessarily get access to by word of mouth and what have you. So staying on top of social media and understanding which groups you need to connect with, which influencers or what have you that you need to connect to is a very important thing. Dollars, they have the motorcycles they call pickies, what have you, and all of those are relatively inexpensive compared to your personal transportation. The dollars anywhere from maybe 500 shillings to 800 shillings, or more, whatever, depending on where you're going and how many different connections you need to make. Similar to some of the public transportation in the U.S., but definitely by far more cheaper. By far more cheaper. But let me tell you, when you get on there during the rush hour, don't be surprised how close you have to be to somebody. You're going to be, a lot of times they're very full, because everybody's trying to get to where everybody else needs to be. I touched on the fact that you might see places on the side of the road as well. That's all too common. You'll see some guys roasting corn. You might see somebody's doing mishkaki, the nyama and the chicken and what have you. And you have all those types of places. There's opportunities in that for us as well, because not necessarily you might not necessarily want to open a place, but sometimes you can partner with people. You can partner with people that have small businesses and stuff and help push that business on up the hill. Maybe they want to do more, but they just don't have the resources because they're on the grind all the time. Now, what I will tell you is that when you start with trying to partner with someone, you need to try and investigate, how they're handling those resources together. You work with them together to kind of see how things are. Because I've invested in a few small businesses, and I went away, and when I came back to check on the business they decided to sell the business, and they kept the money, and they didn't tell me anything. They didn't go belly up. They just sold the business and moved on to something else without telling me, because the strain financially was too much. It wasn't that they were trying to do anything to me. It was simply that the financial strain was too much for them, and they didn't know how to manage exactly. So now it's important to sit down when you're trying to partner with somebody and say, look, can you afford to do this? Can you afford to keep this running if things can't get into a tight? How much money do you have aside? How much money have you put aside to be able to be okay?
Most of them know English.
Yes, they do. Yes.
You had examples of partnerships that you attempted that maybe didn't work out. Do you have any examples of any partnerships that have been successful?
Yeah, actually, I'm partnering with my brother back here. The one that's coming next. I think Johnson is behind me, I believe, on the schedule. And Kidogo. It's just that's part of what helped to teach me that it takes a little bit. It may take more time sometimes. Because at first when I was trying to jump into these different ideas, it was just people. Like I said, people are hurt and traumatized in some ways, because of the lack of resources sometimes, man. And they don't mean any harm, but they know they need stuff, and they see you as somebody that can help. And so whatever way that you're able to try and help, they're looking for that, because they have the ideas, they have the brilliant ideas and all that kind of thing, and say, okay, well, maybe this person right here will help. We can partner together and we can push forward. But the reality is that you have to understand that you need to take your time. Take your time, and take your time, and that's how you begin, to get to a better place with things.
And we seen like a sports area. They had the soccer field. They had the basketball court. Does it make sense to just kind of give and let the community know like you interested instead of just jumping into business. You see what I'm saying? Like transition into the community.
Yeah, well, that's the reason why what I was talking about when I said crucial knowledge at the beginning.
Yeah.
You know, the language and learning the culture and the traditions and learning the business practices. All of that is about you transitioning into the community. Because when you get those things nailed down, then you can then you understand why people do things a certain kind of way. You understand, you know, what they mean when they're saying this. Why, you know, they may say something in Swahili that you know, that you try to take literally, but they're, you know, they may be joking or maybe you know, kind of downplaying something else.
And there are a lot of people, I'm not gonna say a lot, but there are people working out of their homes. You know, if you're a good cook, you know, you might advertise in the chat, I'm taking orders for such and such on such and such a day. Also, I noticed there are people that look like they're ordering things from China, Alibaba, or whatever, and they're selling that stuff in the chat. And so just to throw some ideas out there, because people sure are creative.
Today I'm going to talk about one crucial aspect which all of Africa depend on it, and it's the agriculture value chain. Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
How much of a percentage do you think people residing in SADC depend on, how much of the population do people living inside SADC depend on agriculture? Or are involved in the agriculture value chain? Is 85 are involved directly or indirectly. 18%, you may pay 3%. You may pay 3% on VAT for 5 years, which will assist you in setting ground for your business. You just need the right type of lawyers and to register yourself in a board like Tanzania Investment Board. Form is just Ubui. There are tons of baobab in Tarangire. We didn't know them, we just knew the powder. Meaning, as person planning to invest here, you can invest in processing facility in order to turn the baobab into the baobab powder. So I was partnered with guy named Justin. Justin is from Arusha. They are setting up a chicken farm in Tabora. They are doing like 20,000 chickens. They are planning to sell eggs to feed the regions in Mwanza and also in Kigali and Burundi, because Tabora is closer to Mwanza and Kigali and Burundi.
Everything ain't what it seems in Africa.